the new, or not quite so new, Subaru SVX in Forza Horizon 5. To unlock this fourth and final vehicle in the 90'S update, all you have to do is complete 20 points in this week's festival playlist, which is the spring season, which I've done by doing the Retro Rewind trial, a couple of the event labs, photo challenge, and the 2 monthly rivals at the beginning of the series. We still don't quite know what's coming in Horizon Track Day, the next update. As ever though, if you don't go and unlock this car in the just under a week that's left to at the time of this video being uploaded, you'll only be able to get it from the auction house or potentially in the Horizon Backstage. Speaking of Horizon Backstage, the 2 cars that have been added this week are the Citroen BX4TC and the Ferrari 512 TR. We can also now vote for the cars to be added next week, so we either have the NSXR GT and Celine S7, or the Ford GT and the Koenigsegg CCX. I already have several GTs, so I've voted for the other cars, because I'd quite like another NSXR GT. As you may know, the Subaru SVX isn't technically a new car to Forza. It was last seen in a Horizon game back in Horizon 3, but never made its way forward to Horizon 4 and beyond until now. It's a bit of a strange car, not just in the looks department. It's a 230 brake horsepower, 1.5 ton all-wheel drive coupe sports car that was marketed as the concept car that you can buy, or some such 90s drivel. But it wasn't really very sporty or very good. It was just an interesting looking contraption. Anyway, here in Horizon 5 it's rated in C-Class at 571 from standard. Before heading back to the main festival site though, we first drag raced the SVX against 2 other recently added 90s Japanese cars, the Mitsubishi FTO, which is slightly higher in C-Class, and the Toyota Sora, which is just into B-Class. This had rather predictable results. We then took these same 3 cars into a tarmac sprint race, with similar results. And on a dirt circuit, again with a similar result. The SVX is available in a variety of rather nice manufacturer colours, although these are the same as they were in Horizon 3. There's a couple of nice greens, there's the typical Subaru blue colour, the sort of browny red, and black. So I think for the time being I'm going to go for this rather nice green. It's a similar story in the upgrade shop. There's not really any customization or upgrade of note. There is of course Forza Aero at the front and the rear, as well as a wing delete. Wing delete doesn't look too awful. There are some engine swaps. There's a flat floor turbo, 6.2 litre V8, racing 3 litre inline 6, and a 4 litre flat 6, if you want to, well, take your Subaru's engine out. You can also rear-wheel drive convert it, but I feel like that would ruin it, twin turbo it, or supercharge it. So it's all of your kind of standard options. You've also got tyre compounds, tyre widths, and track widths if you want to fill your Subaru's arches a bit better. That looks far nicer. There's also, of course, drivetrain options, platform and handling options. Full weight reduction will bring weight down to 1,317 kilos and also put you up into B-Class, and all of your usual engine upgrades. If you upgrade every part on the standard engine, you can get power up to 530 brake horsepower. At this point we went and found a B-Class Purist tune from ESV Mars, which brought power up to 318 brake horsepower and weight down to 1,273 kilos, and then headed into some B-Class Horizon Open. Starting at the Valley de Something or Other Sprint, which was full of Subarus. This was mostly a pretty boring race though, with only 5 people participating, and me spending the race in 3rd place, not very near to anyone else. The 22B did eventually leave for no apparent reason, so I was gifted 2nd place, but given that meant there were only SVXs in the race, we didn't really learn that much from this one. Next up was the Panoramica Sprint, again with only 5 participants, and the rest of the race was a similar story to the first one. I was in 3rd for the most part, with not much chance of gaining any places, and sure enough that's where I finished the race as well. And finally it was off to the Tierra Prospera circuit, a race that finally contained more than 5 vehicles. Here I started in second place, and after a slightly more interesting race, but still with not much happening, I fell down to 4th by the finish. At this point we weren't loving the new car, but it wasn't too awful either, so we went into a second set of races, starting at the Player Azul circuit. This got off to a good start. By the end of the first lap it felt as if there was a possibility of a first win for the SVX. However, on the second lap I hit a wall. I thought not too hard, but it slowed me down somewhat. Not too bad, but Forza decided to also give me a slowdown penalty, despite the fact I'd already lost plenty of time from this, and this put me down into 4th place. And after rather messy driving from me for the remainder of the race, that's also where I finished. Next up was the San Juan sprint, which was down to only 4 racers. Here I quickly got myself up to second place though, and after a little while into the race, Elf made a small mistake, promoting me to the lead. I then promptly messed up a few corners and lost that lead, taking a second place by the end of the race. And finally it was off to the Gran Pantano sprint, where I started on pole. Pretty soon though, Elf had overtaken for the lead, and for the remainder of the race not much really happened. I got another second place finish here. So the Subaru hadn't done too badly. A lot of the competition was other SVXs though, so we don't have a complete idea of how good or bad it actually was. It certainly isn't one of the fastest cars in B-Class, but it's not terrible either, although it does suffer from some understeer more than I would ideally like, so I'm not entirely sure whether I'll keep a tune applied or not after today's video. And that is going to do it for a very first look at the Subaru SVX here in Forza Horizon 5. Yes, it's quite slow from standard. Yes, it's been brought forward from a previous Horizon game. It's not new to the Forza series, but it is a cool addition to the game. I mean, just look at it, whether you love it or hate it. It's quite an interesting and different car, and it is good to see it brought forward from Horizon 3. That's kind of a shame it dropped out of the series, and to be fair, at this game's point in its lifespan that it is now, I wouldn't necessarily expect a brand new car added every week. Like I say, it is a cool thing. It's incredibly slow from standard. It's not bad upgraded, but it's usable. It's definitely something you could race online. Doesn't particularly have any interesting upgrades or customization, but it's not a bad car. It's another car added to the game, and it is good to see it return. As ever though, do let me know your thoughts on the new Subaru SVX here in Forza Horizon 5, but for today's video that is going to be all, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next one very soon.